get down to business. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I wrote me a manual, a step-by-step booklet for you to get.
Oh, I make money moves.
You can't see me, my time is now.
What up, guys? Welcome back to the Fitness Times Business Podcast, the show created to provide you with the practical and strategic advice to help you level up in fitness, business, your career, your relationships, and your life. My name is Joseph Mencel. I am your host, and I'm joined in this episode once again by Leah.
Hello.
What's happening?
Not a lot.
How you doing?
I'm good, man.
How's life?
Life's pretty good.
Life is good.
Life is
No
good.
complaints from us. Guys, this episode, we're just going to dive straight in. Fake it till you make it. I'm excited about this episode because I feel very passionately on both sides of this fake it till you make it debate.
Yep.
Let's dive straight in. What you got for me?
Well, I think the first thing that we should discuss is what we actually mean. Well, let's talk about like what's good about fake it till you make it, and then like the negative side.
Let's start with what's bad, because that's where my passion truly lies.
Well, you
Let's
said you
just go.
wanted to fire up in this podcast.
Yeah,
so I
listen.
Think, all right.
This fake it till you make it bullshit. The bullshit side of it, right, is when people's actions don't match their words.
Right.
And I see it all the time in social media, time after time again, year after year, person after person. And my experience is, you know, I've had the privilege of meeting, especially in the fitness industry and parts of business as well, but especially in the fitness industry, you know, these big social media influencers, these social media superstars who portray themselves to be one way in the public eye on social media. And then I meet them in person and they're completely full of shit.
Yeah.
They're completely full of shit. Like everything that they stand for publicly and, you know, what they're trying to fake is completely fake.
Right.
And, you know, it's been incredibly disappointing for me on multiple occasions to meet these people in person and just go, fuck, man, I kind of like, you know, almost looked up to you a little bit. You know, I was inspired by you on multiple occasions, but now I know that that was just all fake.
Yeah.
That was all just complete bullshit. So, you know, the negative side of fake it till you make it is probably what most of us know as fake it till you make it, which is, you know, people presenting themselves as one way and then not being that way when you meet them in person.
Yeah.
Their actions don't match up match up with their words. Their actions don't match their words. That's one side of the bullshit side of fake it till you make it. And I think the other side outside of social media is where people, and I see, you know, we've seen this in the Massive Joe's business time and time again, is where people fake their competency.
Yes.
You know, where they fake that they have a certain skill set, or they fake that they have certain experience is a big one. And when those things are kind of put to the test, it becomes pretty obvious that the skill set was fake, the experience was fake, and they've just completely bullshitted their way into the position that they're trying to get into.
I think with fake it till you make it, if we're talking about the shit side of it, the negative side of it, the one thing that comes out of faking it till you make it in that regard is you lose trust.
Yep.
So I think that's the big thing. So, you know, we'll get to talking about the correct way to fake it till you make it and how that can have a positive impact. But I think if you fake competency and if you fake, you know, personality, portray beliefs and things like that, and then you can't live up to those things, what comes out of that is just a loss of trust.
Why do you think people do it?
I think because they don't like know any better.
You reckon?
A lot of the time.
You reckon it's like a little bit of naivete?
Yeah, I think so. I think faking it till you make it in competency is, I think people just do that in the hope that they will one day be competent.
One day make it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you know, maybe because they've had this whole fake it till you make it thing work out for them in other realms with behavior and with mindset and, you know, things that we're going to talk about later on this podcast, they're kind of just like, oh, well, if I applied that there and it worked, I can apply it here and it will also work. And it's, Yeah, not when you're involving other people and the trust of other people. I don't think that's a good place to fake it till you make it.
I think it's. I think that you're correct in some points. I think that perhaps it's just a little bit of naivety and people just don't know any better. But I've seen people who should know better. You know what I'm saying? And they still continue to go down this path of just being full of shit. Just being completely full of shit. And I think at that point, it actually lies back on the fact that they're not willing to do the actual work to get the result that they're trying to get. They're not willing to do the actual things they need to do to make it.
Right.
So they just think, well, if I just fucking fake it, right, no one's going to call me out. No one's going to know any better. And somehow, I don't know how the fuck their mind works, but somehow I'm going to get to some point where I've made it by faking it to get there.
Yeah, sure.
So I think sometimes there's naivety involved, but I feel like more often than not, it goes beyond that, and it's just fucking laziness.
Yeah,
it's actual fucking laziness.
Yeah.
It's these dumb motherfuckers that think that there's a shortcut to getting where they want to go.
Yeah.
That they think they can fucking circumvent the actual work that's required, the actual discomfort that's required, the actual sacrifices that are required to get where they want to go, and they're just like, you know what? I can outsmart the fucking system and just be completely full of shit, and somehow I'm going to fucking end up there.
Yeah. I have a real problem with it as well. Not only, like I mentioned before, about the, losing trust in your customers or, whoever is involved in you faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
But it's a real slap in the face. It's an insult to people who have actually done the work. Gone through what they need to get through, who aren't faking it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I have another real problem with it there.
And that's probably why I take it so personally.
Yeah.
That's probably why I get so fucking fired up about it, because I'm like, I've done the fucking work. I put in the fucking sacrifice. I did all of the difficult shit that you're not willing to do, and you're trying to fucking shortcut and circumvent all that shit to try and get where I'm at. No, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that. So get out of my face with your fake bullshit.
Yeah.
So I guess the first piece, there's two pieces of advice here, right?
Yep.
The first piece of advice, and this is going to flow into the rest of the show because we are going to get really practical and strategic for you guys. So the first thing is, if you understand that all of this comes from a good place, right? All this, we create this show to help you guys out. So understand that if you are the sort of person and, perhaps you got offended in the first 10 minutes because we've just fucking unloaded on you. If you are the sort of person who has faked it because you're trying to find a shortcut, you're trying to find a circumvention to get where you want to go, understand that the rest of this show is going to provide you with a practical and strategic advice of how you actually get there without faking it, right? So that's the first thing is, actually have the consciousness to kind of put your hand up and go, okay, you know what? They're actually talking about me. I'm that person. And then listen and fucking take notes for the rest of the show. The second thing is, if you are on the other side of that and you kind of look up to certain people, right? And perhaps you see like a chink in the armor, right? And there always is. There's always a chink, right? Maybe you see a story that goes up and you're like, oh, hold on a second. Or a post that goes up, or someone posts someone in a story and you're like, wait, that doesn't really match. Actually do your research. It's very, very easy to do a Google search on someone who you think is full of shit, who you have taken inspiration from, or perhaps you admire or has motivated you or whatever. Just do your research. Like, it's very, very easy to find out who's real and who's not real, or more importantly, who's fake and who's not fake. So I think that's the first point.
I agree.
Now, the positives of fake it till you make it.
Okay. Let's go. You go first.
I'm going to reframe this to my first positive spin on fake it till you make it. And that is that if we say making it is achieving a certain result, right? So perhaps you're trying to achieve a certain result in your fitness. Maybe you're trying to lose weight, maybe trying to build muscle. Maybe you're a competitive athlete, you're trying to turn pro. In business, perhaps you're trying to grow your business to a certain level, however you measure that growth. In your personal life, perhaps you're trying to develop you personally to get to a certain level of somebody you look up to. Maybe in relationships, you're trying to be a better partner, a better friend, whatever that situation is. Let's call that the result. Right? And that's making it. The behavior has to come before the result.
Right.
You don't get the result without implementing the habits, the routines, and the behaviors that align with that result in the first instance.
Yep. 100%. Like Aristotle, I've got this note here when I was doing a bit
you got some Stoics in there.
Well, I got Aristotle, man, and like he is a smart guy. No one can deny the man that. And he is famous. One of his quotes was, "Men acquire a quality by constantly acting a certain way." So, and that's old school as well. So
2,000 years ago.
2,000 years ago. So to acquire a quality, you first have to act a certain way. So, behavior comes before the result.
And what I do, I do this a lot, right, in different areas of my life. In my fitness, it's my competing, right? So I look up to the guys who are where I want to be, right? They're competing at the Olympia. They're doing well at the Olympia and men's physique division and other divisions as well. In my business, I'm looking up to guys who run businesses and ladies who run businesses that are where I'm trying to get my business to.
Yep.
Right? In my personal life, I look up to people who have developed personal skills like accountability, like grit, like empathy that are beyond where I am, and I'm trying to get there. Right? And same with relationships as well. All different areas of my life, I have people that I look up to.
Yep.
And I try and seek inspiration from where they're at. But more importantly, I try and emulate their behavior.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, if I'm trying to get to that level in my competing, what do I need to be doing on a day-to-day basis to get to that level? Because I know that the behavior, the habits, the routines come before the result. So I got to start doing that day-to-day shit to get to where they are, which is where I want to go.
Yep.
Business, exactly the same thing. I'm looking up, how much grit do I have to have? How much accountability do I need to work on and develop? Where's my work ethic at? Where does it need to be? How do I bridge that gap? Execution, prioritization and execution. How do I get better at prioritizing? How do I get better at executing and getting shit done, especially on the days that I don't feel like doing it? Prioritization as well. How do I figure out what's most important? How do I keep the main thing the main thing?
Yeah.
Because I know that those behaviors and bridging the gap between where I am with my behavior and where these people I look up to are with their behavior, bridging that gap is what's going to lead to that result. So that's something that I do is I seek inspiration, but more importantly, I look at the behaviors where I can.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
What's the gap? What's the difference? How do I go about bridging that on a day-by-day basis?
Yeah.
What routines do I need to replace? What habits do I need to replace? What can I get better at to bridge that gap?
I mean, you start doing it as a kid. You imitate and emulate behaviors of people that you look up to, that you aspire to be like. So we learn that skill quite early on, even if we don't consciously know that that's what we're learning how to do. But, we have figured out that, if I want to get to this place, I've done it with heaps of stuff, basketball. I knew exactly how, what Michael Jordan's pregame looked like, and I'd emulate that.
Yeah.
Same with CrossFit. I'd look up to like some of the best CrossFit athletes in the world, or the ones that are at the CrossFit Games, and I'd look at their training and I'd look at their diet, and I would imitate and emulate. I'd look at how, I'd break down their Olympic lifts. I'd break down, how they do stuff, to try and fake that behavior, until it becomes, my behavior. So it's definitely.
And I think that this is, we mentioned that like social media is a breeding ground for the negative side of fake it till you make it. But it also empowers your ability to see what these people's routines, habits, and behaviors look like, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you get that information. You go follow them, you look at their posts, you look at their stories, you look at the stuff they share, maybe the YouTube videos, maybe vlogs, whatever it is, and you can pick up these little bits and pieces that you can then go and emulate, that you can then go and integrate into your own habits and your own routines. So it kind of, it's almost like a double-edged sword depending on how you want to play it. I just want to point out something you said, right? You said that you try and fake those behaviors and fake those habits and fake those routines. It's not faking. What it actually is, and let's take the saying "fake it till you make it," right? And let's replace the word "fake" to actually describe what needs to happen here. Because it's not faking it, right? It's putting in the work until you make it.
Yeah.
It's sacrificing what you need to sacrifice until you make it.
I think it's consciously doing something until it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not faking it.
No.
It's actually doing what you need to do.
Consciously doing it.
To replace habits that don't align with that end result, don't align with that end goal, with ones that do. Is to replace routines that don't align with ones that do. It's a replacement strategy, but it's not faking anything. It's actually doing the fucking work. And I see it all the time, right? Like one of the things that I see a lot, obviously through the IFBB and a lot of these amateur athletes coming up, trying to turn pro, trying to get their pro cards. That's the result, right? That's the goal. That's what they're trying to achieve. And then a lot of them, I know their habits, their routines, their behaviors. I'm like, that's not pro athlete. You're trying to get to this level, but you're still acting like an amateur. You're still behaving like an amateur in their training, in their dieting, the way they carry themselves as people, the way they present themselves on social media is a big one. I'm like, that's not the behaviors of a pro. So what do you think's going to happen? You think that you're going to turn pro and suddenly there's going to be a fucking light bulb that goes off and all of these things are going to shift like in an instant? It doesn't work like that. I see the same thing through my mentoring, a bunch of my mentees that are trying to get to certain levels in business in particular, right? It's the same thing. It's like, what do you think's going to, you're trying to build a $1 million business. You think that you're going to build the business, the result comes first, and then suddenly there's like a flash of fucking lightning and now you're executing the way you need to execute.
Yeah.
Now you're prioritizing the way you need to prioritize. Now you got the work ethic. It doesn't work like that. All of this shit has to come before the result.
Yeah.
All of these behaviors, you need to put in the work. You need to sacrifice what you need to sacrifice. You need to go through the discomfort. That's what develops the behaviors. That's what implements the routines. That's what implements the habits. And that leads to the result.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people have this shit twisted.
Yeah.
They think that the result comes first and then suddenly fucking some sort of epiphany comes and the behavior comes after.
We've spoken about this before. We've spoken about this with developing habits. Yeah. And, if you have a deep desire to change something or achieve something, and you have absolute conviction in the behavior towards that, the fake behavior towards that, eventually, after time, the power of habit kicks in.
Yeah.
So, we've done whole pods on that. So this fake it till you make it, this fake behavior. I'm going to keep saying fake behavior because it's otherwise we kind of go a bit off track with what we're trying to talk about here. So yeah, I think this fake behavior is definitely a way to eventually create new habits.
Behavior comes before the result.
Yeah.
It's funny actually because here's a real life this is legit a real life example of something that happened today, right? So this is my personal experience. At the moment, those of you following Pro Prep would know that I'm still dieting as if I'm competing. I'm not competing, unfortunately.
Some unknown crazy reason.
Yeah, for this crazy shit happening. But I decided, you know what, I'm gonna keep dieting for a few more weeks and get my condition to a point where I can see where my physique's at, reverse out, work on the off season, and then kind of take it from there. And so I feel like shit at the moment, man.
Really? I could never tell. You're carrying it so well.
No.
It's funny because we sat in here like a few weeks ago and you're like, this is the best prep I've ever had.
Oh,
I'm
no.
feeling great.
Listen, it's still the best prep ever, you know, and I'm pissed that. It's funny, I was having this conversation with my fiance Amy a couple of days ago. Maybe it was yesterday. I'm losing track of days. I don't know what the fuck's going on, to be honest.
Really well.
Yeah, it's like that. But I was saying to Amy, I'm really pissed that this show's not going ahead because I was going to fucking win that show.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt in my mind. The prep has been amazing. I'm in a really good space. You know, if the show was going ahead, it'd be 6 weeks out in 2 days' time. And but anyway, that's a side note. So I feel like this morning was one of the worst days for me. Like, I slept like shit last night. I woke up this morning, it's tired as fuck. I had a headache. I'm hungry all the fucking time, grumpy and just shit. And busy day today. Like today, all this fucking media, all these meetings. I just got a whole bunch of shit on my plate. I've had a really crazy busy week. And this morning in the office, I was just like, man, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, this is really fucking hard. And I actually, because I knew that we were shooting this podcast today, I actually fell back into this this mindset that comes before the behavior that we're going to get into in a second.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? These people that I look up to in business, what would they do right now? Would they pull the pin on the day and go, you know what, reschedule all the shit, I'm just not feeling up to it? No. I'm trying to get to where they're at. You know what they would do? You know what behavior they would do? They would go, I feel like shit. This is a fucking test day. So I'm going to do whatever the fuck I need to do to get my head into the space where it needs to be to prioritize, to execute, to do the things that I need to do when I don't feel like doing them. And legit, that's what's pulled me through today. That's why we're here doing the podcast, because I was legit, I was 50-50. I was like, man, we got to reschedule this podcast. I can't do this shit today. I'm just not feeling up to it. But I said, no, that's not the behavior that's going to get me the result I'm trying to get.
Yep.
That's real life shit.
Yeah. Behavior comes before the result.
And what comes before the behavior?
Mindset.
Mindset
this is the juicy
comes
part.
before
This is
the
the part I was
behavior.
excited about talking
All right.
about.
What you got?
So, look, it's all, for me, it's law of attraction. So, you know, positive thoughts and a positive, you know, mindset brings a positive experience, positive results. You know, I think the power of the mind is a very fascinating thing. I mean, a bit of background on me, like I don't know if we've actually discussed it.
We did like a lot of episodes ago, but rehash.
Right. So I actually got 3.5 years into my psychology degree. So at Flinders. So I actually, you know, I find the mind very fascinating, and I find mindset coming before behavior and influencing behavior, you know, an incredibly powerful thing to look into and to talk about. So yeah, look, I think in the same way that positive beliefs and affirmations lead to positive results and outcomes, which I don't know, maybe we're not heaps familiar with, or some of the listeners are a little bit like, oh, you know, it might seem like a new concept to them, but I think we are all, you know, quite aware, you know, especially given what's going on in the media at the moment, and they have shone a bit of a light on the fact that the flip side of that is, you know, the negative beliefs and affirmations and like a negative mindset can sort of lead to, you know, negative behaviors and things like depression and stuff like that. So I think we're kind of slowly peeling back the whole mindset, you know, influencing behavior thing, but you know, we can delve into it a little bit deeper now.
Look, I think the you know, the main point that we really want to make here is, if you know that behavior comes before the result, the driver of the behavior that comes before the result is the mindset that actually drives the behavior in the first place. It's the mindset that drives the habits and the routines. So if you're constantly experiencing negative self-talk, right? If you're constantly experiencing negative affirmations, whether you're aware of them or not, and a lot of the time when they're negative, you're not aware of them, right? And it comes from, you know, especially at the moment, consuming a lot of media, a lot of traditional mass media, a lot of social media. There's so much negativity
Yep.
in the world at the moment. Like it's really fucking hard to us. Like I don't consume a lot of media at all, whether it be social or mass. And I still drive down the fucking street and I see a fucking billboard and
Yep.
I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, it's just right in your
like
face.
negative shit. I can't even fucking escape this, man. But yeah, so a lot of the time, the negative affirmations and the negative self-talk is unconscious. You don't even realize it until you actually take a moment to think about what
Yeah.
you're thinking about.
Yeah.
But it's a big fucking problem because this negative self-talk, this unconscious or subconscious negative self-talk, negative affirmations leads to negative behaviors, which leads to negative results, or doesn't allow you to actually even begin exercising the behavior you need to exercise to get the result that you're trying to get to, which funnily enough leads to a lot of people faking it till they make it because they just don't fucking understand what's happening in their own mind.
Yeah.
So they don't understand how to turn the negative self-talk, the negative affirmations into positive self-talk, into positive affirmations, or even pick themselves up on it in the first place so that they can start developing the behavior to get the result. So they go, well, fuck it, I'm just going to fake it till I make it. And, end up in the situation where they're just full of shit. But sometimes they don't even know. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. There's also a proven correlation between confidence and success.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about this because we want to, we're talking about how to get in the right mindset and, have the right behaviors to get to a successful outcome. So
we literally mentioned this in the most recent episode, Snakes and Ladders.
yeah,
It was in order to be successful or achieve any sort of outcome, you have to have confidence.
Yeah.
If you don't believe you can do it, if
Yeah.
you don't have confidence and optimism that you can actually achieve the result,
Yeah.
you got no fucking chance right from the start.
So here's how this sort of ties into mindset and something that I find really fascinating regarding confidence is, some people are like, I'm not confident, or I'm not a confident person, so I'm not going to achieve success. Because there's a correlation between it. If you're not confident, you're not going to be successful. The really cool thing about confidence is you can actually fake it. So, you can fake confidence in, your body language, in your self-talk, in the way you're talking to yourself, in the way you're talking to others. Like the really cool thing about confidence is you can actually fake things with it for it to actually turn into what real confidence in. The other really cool thing about confidence is if I'm faking being confident right now, which I might actually be, but if you are in a situation where you are having to fake it, people can't actually tell, which I think is pretty cool. I can't tell fake confidence from real confidence. People can't. We don't have the capability to dissect the two of them and tell one from the other. So it's a state of mind, and if you can get into that state of mind, then it's proven that success follows.
How do you get into that state of mind? For the listeners, for the viewers, they're going, fuck, this message is resonating with me. I have a lot of negative self-talk. A lot of my affirmations are negative. And now that I'm listening to you guys and I'm actually giving it some conscious thought, this is hitting home with me. What do I do?
It's really as simple as actually actioning the positive stuff. So if your self-talk is negative, or I'm not confident, I can't do this, it's actually saying to yourself, I can do this. I've got this. I'm capable of this. It's really that simple. It's we spoke about it before we started recording. It's cognitive behavior therapy. So it's which is a psychological therapy technique. Yeah. And it is literally changing actions before the behavior sort of follows. So it's changing the self-talk, the way you talk to yourself, and then how that influences the way that you behave. And then eventually, we kind of get a positive outcome.
Is it best to do it like internally? Is it best to actually verbalize it, like speak it into existence? Is it best to write it down? What do you do? What's the best way to do it? How do you start?
I think you'd start with however it works for you. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I've personally found that writing stuff down, writing positive affirmations down is helpful for me. You know, getting up in the morning and actually talking to myself in the mirror, as insane as that sounds, again.
You like cool runnings.
Yeah.
I feel pride. I feel power.
But like, honestly, like that's a great example of something from, you know, that we all can relate to. That is what he is doing in that scene. He's actually creating a mindset that is eventually going to lead to, you know, a behavior change, which is going to eventuate in a successful, you know, outcome for them, which is to do well in the Winter Olympics.
What do you say to people listening to this right now that think it's all bullshit?
I'd say do a bit of reading.
Yeah.
Well, like
because
that's
what I get,
pod.
right?
Yeah.
It's like I've done a bunch of content on this. I did a full podcast, my 10-step morning routine.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of people who listen to that and they're like, yep, cool, sounds good.
Yeah.
And then there's some people immediately they're like, this is fucking bullshit. This is fluff.
I'd say put it into practice. Try it.
Yeah.
Actually try it.
For how long though? Because then I know there's some people put it into practice and they do it for like a week and they're like, it's not working. Yeah. And then throw the towel and goes, fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Look, I'd put it into practice for like a 4-week period. I think that's kind of again, there's so many studies on it.
66 days, isn't that the amount of time it takes to create a
new habit? Yeah, I think that's one of the studies showed that. Yeah.
It's like 10 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's more than just fucking 1 week.
Yeah. Yeah, it is more than 1 week. It's more than like one morning, you know, you can't just wake up one morning and be like, you know, say your affirmations and then hope for an instant change. You know, it's not that easy. But, you know, nothing worth doing is easy. So
it's one of these things that, you know, I do a lot of. And as I mentioned, you know, there's a full episode of this show called 10-Step Morning Routine. If you guys haven't listened, I highly, highly suggest you go back and listen to that episode. It's quite a short episode. I think it's less than 30 minutes long. Those of you who have listened, go and listen again, because it's one of those that you really need to listen to a few times, let that shit sink in, take notes, and then pluck out the parts of it that you can start applying. You know, mine's 10 steps. You know, it's quite extensive, but it's something that I've developed over many, many years, right? Maybe you pick out like 2 steps and you're like, you know what, I'm going to start there. That's where I'm going to go. But, you know, if there's a few bits of that morning routine that I can pull out for you guys that I know will 100% help you help you change your negative self-talk and your negative affirmations into positive self-talk and positive affirmations. The first one is the first step in my morning routine, which is as soon as I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I do is consciously acknowledge what my first thought is. Is my first thought negative? Immediately, right? It's just going, oh shit, actually, there's some negative self-talk going on. Is it positive? Fantastic. Or is it neutral? Is it neither nor? Right? Just having that initial conscious 2 seconds to go, what sort of a mindset am I in? And it's super, super important, because for those of us that are experiencing a lot of negative self-talk and negative affirmations, it's that trigger immediately. It's that acknowledgement immediately to go, okay, now that I've identified what's going on, I can do something about it. Because so many of us, it's subconscious. We don't even know that there's negative self-talk. We don't even know that there's negative affirmations. And then we try and figure out, oh, why can't I exercise the behaviors I want to exercise on a daily basis? Well, because you're fucking talking negative shit to yourself. Yeah. But you haven't even taken the first step in actually acknowledging that. So that, in my 10-step morning routine, that's going to be super important for you guys, is to actually, what is my first thought? Positive, negative, neutral, acknowledge it, and then move on from there. The second piece that I want to pull out, and this is, it's one of these things at the moment that is so, so, so timely. Do not consume media first thing in the morning.
This is a tough one for me personally.
I know it is. That's why I'm looking at you straight in the eyes.
Looking right at me.
What did you say when you come into the office this morning?
Yeah, I said I didn't.
Like, I didn't watch the news this morning and I feel great.
Yeah, yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's I wake up, I turn the coffee machine on, and I tell Alexa to turn the TV on, and she puts Carl Stefanovic on the TV for me, and I have a chuckle most of the time. I watch it because a live TV is often, it's funny because they mess up and stuff, but yeah, I guess subconsciously you do take in a lot of the negativity in the media, and it can, without even really noticing it, can have a kind of negative effect on the rest of your day. So
100%. And like, guys, I understand how difficult it is. And you know why it's difficult? Because for most of us, just like you said, it's part of a routine. You get up in the morning, the first thing you do, you pick up your phone, you start scrolling through Instagram, or you start scrolling through news feeds or whatever it may be. You make your coffee, TV goes on. You're watching the fucking morning show or the morning news or whatever it is, right? And those sort of built-in habits and routines are the most difficult to change because they're built in. So I understand how difficult it is to not consume media first thing in the morning. And I'm not saying don't consume media at all. I'm saying that first 30 minutes in the morning, that first hour in the morning, if you are consistently, even without noticing, putting negative messages into your brain, it's going to be much more difficult for you to reverse out of that negative mindset as the day progresses. If you can start your day with positive self-talk and positive affirmations, it's going to be so much easier to just fucking roll with that momentum throughout the day. That leads to the behaviors, that leads to the results. So that's a huge one for me, and as difficult as it is, and as difficult as I acknowledge that it is, try not to consume media for at least the first 30 minutes. And the best way you can do it is consume something else. Don't just not go to Instagram or not go to newsfeed or not and just be in fucking silence. That's not going to work, right? Read, journal, consume something that isn't media. Put something else in its place. Replace that habit and that routine with something else. Don't just get rid of it. And
listen to the podcast.
Listen to the Fitness Times Business podcast.
Put that in the morning routine.
The next step is bits and pieces of my morning journal, right? The first one is gratitude journaling, which you would know through your psychology practices leads to positive self-talk immediately. When you can actually acknowledge the things that you're grateful for, immediately you feel better.
Huge.
Feel better. So gratitude journaling, I list 5 things. At least start with like 2 or 3. I'm not saying you have to go 5. At least 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for is going to, have a huge impact on your positive self-talk and your positive affirmations. And then I do a positive affirmation every single morning. And you know what else I do? I don't even think I may not have said this in the 10-step morning routine, but I actually speak it into existence. So the first thing, I write it down, right? It goes in I got a little, the Evernote app on my phone. So I write it down in my phone. And then I'll speak it into existence. So once I've written it down, I'll actually speak it. I'll repeat it to myself. Put it into the universe. Right? It's like the Cool Runnings. I feel proud. I feel power. I feel a badass mother who don't take no crap off of nobody. I might use that tomorrow, actually.
That's going to be your affirmation tomorrow.
Those days where I'm feeling angry, that's going to be my affirmation. And then the final thing that isn't actually part of my routine, but is, speaking of affirmations, is one of these things that I think at this point in my life is kind of tattooed into my brain, is how I choose to perceive things that happen. That are often outside of my control. And, this is something that I've spoken about in the show on a couple of different occasions, but for those of you who may have missed it, or for those of you who need a little reminder, things happen and things don't give a fuck if they're good or bad. They just are. They just happen. Whether things that happen are good or bad is up to you. That's your choice. You get to choose whether you perceive whatever happens as being good or bad. And even things that in the short term objectively appear really fucking bad. Maybe you do an injury, maybe you lose your job, get fired or some shit, or maybe you're going through a breakup, whatever the situation may be, in the short term, bad, objective. You still have the choice over whether you perceive that as bad or whether you perceive that as good. And this is where perspective comes in mind, right? In the short term, you might perceive it as bad. It feels really fucking shit. But you can extend that perspective and go, okay, what's this going to lead to in 12 months, in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? That's your choice. So I choose to perceive whatever happens as good, because I understand that if I extend that perspective out, that's my prerogative to choose that things are happening as good. The other thing you get to choose is whether things that happen are happening to you, meaning they're completely out of your control and they're pushing you in a direction that you don't want to go, or you can perceive things that happen as happening for you, meaning that they actually push you in a direction that you don't even know you want to go yet. And once again, this is where perspective comes in, because you can't see it in the short term, but you have to have a little bit of faith that, you know what, this feels really shit right now. This feels really bad. It feels like something pushing me in a direction I don't want to go. It feels like something bad is happening to me. But if I extend that perspective along, I don't know how the dots are going to join moving forward. I don't know that, but I have faith that whatever this thing that feels really bad right now that's happening is actually happening for me. And I'll be able to look back and I'll be able to see how those dots join. And sometimes the things that feel like the worst things that ever happened to me, and I speak from experience with this, feel like the worst things in the moment, the worst possible things that could happen to me, actually end up being the best things that could ever happen to me. So that's one of my consistent personal affirmations. Only good things happen for me. What else you got for mindset?
What else have I got?
What are the practical tips and tricks you got for the listeners?
Look, I
just need a drink.
Yeah,
break.
I know.
I just need to handball over to you so I can take a quick sip of this delicious, massive Joe's water.
It's a quick, we'll just start a quick ad break.
Quick ad break. Oh, shit. All right, listen. I want to kind of round this out because there's one final point that I want to make on this faking it till you make it. Right? So we've kind of gone through this journey of understanding that when you're trying to make it, when you're trying to achieve a certain goal, a certain result, the behavior has to come before that result. But the behavior is not about faking behavior per se. It's about doing the work. It's about making the sacrifices. It's about doing the difficult shit that allows you to replace habits and routines that don't align with the result with new habits and routines that do align with the result. And understanding that's going to be really fucking difficult in the moment to do that, but that's the only way to develop those behaviors that will lead to the result.
Maybe we should change it to practice till you make it.
We can change it to whatever the fuck you want to change it to, so long as we don't use the word fake. I'm all good with that. And then we've gone, in order to get to a point where you can replace those misaligned behaviors, those misaligned habits, those misaligned routines with ones that do align with the result, you have to be in a positive mindset. You have to have positive self-talk. You have to have positive affirmations. And the only way to do that is to firstly acknowledge the negative self-talk, the negative affirmations, and implement these strategies, these practices that allow you to replace the negative self-talk and the negative affirmations with positive self-talk and positive affirmations. And in that process, the mindset leads to the behavior leads to the result. The fake, there's no fucking place for it. The last thing I want to touch on is this finite mindset of making it. This finite mindset of, I'm trying to achieve a particular result. I'm going to behave the way I need to behave to achieve the result. I'm going to get my mindset in a state where I can exercise those behaviors to get a particular result. My problem with focusing on just one result is that once you've made it, you're setting yourself up for going back to the shit that you were doing before you began this journey of making it. So the final question I have for you is, what even is making it?
See, for me, I interpret the fake it till you make it. Like, I interpret the it as, you know, a change in behavior, a change in something. You know, I don't view it as a place or a certain singular achievement or goal. So for me, like faking it till you make it is like, you know, I think about fake it till you make it with, you know, changing something. So, and trying to achieve something else, like something like a change in mindset or, you know, a change in, I'm trying to improve, you know, my resilience or my grit or things like that. So, you know, I'm trying to improve my happiness, you know, so, you know, faking behaviours around happiness till you achieve what feels like, you know, a bit more happiness is kind of how I view fake it till you make it. Yeah.
I think that, you know, it's immediately setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment when you get to the point where you think you've made it.
Yeah.
Because then
what is it?
Because, well, that's what I'm saying is what even is making it?
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, just to circle back to how we started this conversation, I think that, you know, a lot of you who may have found yourself in a position where we kind of come out the blocks pretty strong at the start of this podcast and we were like, you're full of shit. You need to pull your fucking head out of your ass. You know, a lot of that driver of faking it until you achieve a certain thing is setting yourself up for destruction right from the start. Because when you make it, then what? Are you going to stop faking it? You know?
Well, like we said,
like, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, we did kind of say at the very start, you cannot fake core skills and abilities, you know. So you can't fake that until you make it. We're not talking about that. You know, that's what you do not do at all. We're talking about faking, you know, behaviours and mindset and things like in that realm to make it being success, however that looks for you.
You know what this all ends up being? It ends up being a journey of personal development.
Yeah.
That's what it ends up being. You know, when you start thinking about how you can go from negative self-talk, negative affirmations to positive self-talk, positive affirmations. When you start thinking about how you can replace habits and routines that don't align with who you're trying to become with habits and routines that do align with who you're trying to become. When you start on this journey, it's an infinite journey. It never ends. And this is really the true meaning of leveling up.
Yeah.
Right? There is no end to the staircase of personal development. There is no end to the staircase of trying to be the best you can be in your fitness, in your business, in your careers, in your relationship, in your life. There is no making it. There is no destination. It's a continuous journey. And you may begin by, and you know, this is not against goal setting, right? Because I'm huge on goal setting, right? If you don't know where the fuck you're trying to go, you got no chance of getting there. But this is about understanding that as you achieve certain goals, as you achieve certain results in any area of your life, you're going to find new goals and new results to try and chase after that. So I encourage you guys to really give some conscious thought to the mindset, to the finite mindset of going, you know what, I'm going to do this until I get to this point, because it's setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment when you get to that point. The mindset needs to be, I'm developing the internal mindset. I'm developing the habits and the routines. I'm developing the skills in personal development, the grit, the resilience, the reliability, the accountability, you know, all of these buzzwords that'll allow me to continue to progress as far as I want to go. There's no fucking limits. There is no making it. There is no faking it till you make it. This is all personal development. This is all skill development. This is all trying to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And, you know, one thing that I've experienced in my life, right, is I'll set these big, outlandish goals, right? The biggest possible goals that I can even fathom at a point in time. And what happens is as I progress towards the goals, my mindset opens up even more, right? And I kind of go, well, fuck. I didn't even think that was possible. I didn't even think that I could even get to any sort of that level. You know, like I remember when we were, before we moved into this building, right? We used to have a little building street over, Woodlands Terrace here in Edwardstown in South Australia, and we were there for a bunch of years. And I remember at that point, like from a business perspective and from the facility that we'd run the business from, I remember thinking, fuck, if I can get on Furness Avenue, one of those big fuck off buildings, that was as far as I could go. Yeah. Right. That was as far. I was like, that's it. That's it. And you know what happened? We moved in here. I thought, fantastic. This is awesome. And I'm like, fuck, if we got to this level, well, what's to say we can't go to the next level? You know, what's to say, you know what I do now? It's funny actually, because the way that I drive to work every morning, I take a little bit of a detour, right?
Is that why you're late every morning?
Yeah, that's why I'm late. That's why
His name's on the building, guys.
Yeah,
he can rock up whatever time he wants.
Listen, I start fucking working at 4:30 every morning, so I just work from my phone. But anyway, so the way I drive to work every morning is a little bit of a detour, and I purposely. It's funny because I was sent this way by Google Maps one morning when there was an accident on the route that I'd normally take, and it sent me down this fucking weird route, and I was like, man, what the fuck is Google Maps doing? Then when I went down this route, I was like, I understand. I see what happens. So I take this detour to work every morning, and I drive past. I'll have to show you. I haven't told anyone about this. I have to show you. I drive past this property that's just next to the airport here in South Australia, and it's this massive property. Like literally the office building side of it is the size of this building, and the warehouse is probably 10 times as big. Yeah. And I drive past this building every morning because now I'm like, that's where we're going.
Oh, there you go.
That's where we're going to head up. But when we were back in Woodlands Terrace before we moved into this building, there's no fucking way I could ever have perceived that as a result. So the point I'm trying to make to you guys is making it is not the right mindset because it's a finite mindset. Yeah. The infinite mindset is there are no limits. I'm going to continue to develop as a person. I'm going to continue to get better in my mindset, continue to get better in my behaviors. And as I continue to level up there, my results are going to level up as well. And there's no fucking limit to the results. No limit. It's infinite. Yep.
The winner's mindset.
Well, it's champion mindset.
Yeah.
Right? No limits.
Yeah.
Infinite mindset. That's it. That's all I got.
That's it. So that's the pod.
That's the pod.
Yeah.
Leah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a good chat.
Yes.
It's been it's always good to dispel some myths around bullshit that you see on social media and especially in the fitness industry. But I appreciate the chat. Thank you for being a part of this. Guys, the one thing we ask in return, as you know, for each and every episode, we don't run ads on the show. We don't promote the show through advertising. It's all completely word of mouth. And the show continues to help people all over the world improve their lives through health and fitness and business and career and relationships. And I've just fucked up the intro again. But it's an outro, so it's all good. Right. But the one thing we ask for in return is that if you have enjoyed the show, if you have been entertained, if you've taken some practical and strategic advice, if you've taken some inspiration, maybe even some motivation, the one thing that we ask is that you share the show. The one way that we really love seeing people share the show is to take a screenshot, post it in your Instagram story, tag Leah at Leah Mencel with a H, tag myself at Joseph Mencel, also with a H, at the end of the P.
Yeah, I got it.
It's not J-O-S-E-F. Yeah. It's J-O-S-E-P-H.
I'm surprised you've got through this pod with the diet brain, the prep brain. You're doing really well.
Yeah, no, I had a little bit of caffeine before we jumped on in here. So, yeah, I made it. But I'm about to drop off real quick. That's why I'm rushing through the outro. Share the show, guys, in your Instagram story. Tag us in there. Of course, you can share it person to person. You can open up the window and scream it to your neighbors, however you want to share. We appreciate that. Thank you, Leah.
Thanks, Joseph.
Guys, you could have been anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Fitness Times Business Podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you enjoyed this episode and took some value from it, make sure you share it with your friends, your family, and your followers. And if you haven't yet, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating.